Welcome back to Square One from History Link. I'm your host, Rosette Royale. And for this episode, join us in the streets as we march and raise our fists as we learn about protests and parades. So far in Square One, we've been talking about Seattle, but Seattle is connected to the broader world, and events in other places had broad implications here. And that's what happened in 1969. In June of that year, over in New York City, LGBTQ plus folks were gathered in a bar called the Stonewall Inn. As happened far too often, police raided the bar, but on June 28, 1969, that raid did not go how cops planned. When the police became violent, trans people, black and brown folks, lesbians, and queer men fought back. The resulting protests became known as the Stonewall Rebellion, considered the watershed moment for LGBTQ plus rights in the country. The next year, there were pride marches in New York, LA, and San Francisco. And the reverberations from Stonewall made it all the way here to Seattle. And in 1974, the Emerald City held its first Pride Week celebration. Here we are, Occidental Square, right? The center of bustling downtown Seattle, downtown Pioneer Square. Here we come to have lunch. Sit here in these tables. Sometimes there's music playing, people playing giant Connect the Four games out here, just sitting in a city park. But dozens of years ago in the 70s, this park was a center of activism. This was a place where people gathered to express themselves, to find joy in their relationships and their love and their caring for each other, and to express their pride. This here is where Seattle had its first Pride Week. Right here, downtown, in a place with businesses now, and pizza shops, and seagulls running and flying amok. Here was a place where people gathered to fight for their rights and show that they were worthy of being heard, listened to, appreciated, and respected, right here in Occidental Square.
So the pergola, I guess, was right here, and we had a picnic here. A lot of the stuff was somewhat family-oriented. I mean, we had people, lesbians and some gay men with couples raising kids. So we had a picnic here, and we had balloons and puppets and stuff and festivities right here at the pergola, and that was Saturday afternoon. And that was a statement at the time to be out in a public space like this and, be gay and be proud and have a sign that said it.
Now, you had this poster at your house. It was a photo, really, of you with that.
That was down at Seattle Center.
Yeah.
Right.
But you had that poster, and there was someone seated behind you who was had this look in her eye of sort of suspicion and what is happening. So how were you perceived by people when you were here?
It was, I don't remember that many people here at the time, although it was, in June. So there was I had no sense of negativity, let's put it that way. There were probably, 15 or 20 or 25 at the most of us. We had balloons and stuff and banners. But beyond that, there was no incidences and no negativity that I could ever remember.
Okay, so let's say I am walking through the grocery store and I see a food magazine and I'm like, oh, that looks like a great dish. You know what? I can have a dinner party and serve this dish. So, how did you come up with the idea to have like a pride celebration parade? Like, how does
Oh,
it happen?
well, Stonewall was in 68, right?
69.
69, so it was now 74. So when we started the community center, that spring we got our building. And in 73, I went back east, Gettysburg. Somebody actually asked me, are the streets in Seattle paved? And that stuck in my mind. Anyway, so there we are, we're starting the community center. And I said, you know what? These other big cities like New York and San Francisco are having gay pride weeks. We need to have a gay pride week. Seattle had gay pride days in the past couple of years. But I said, we need to have a gay pride week. And I called a meeting at Volunteer Park, and we got, for anybody that was interested in setting it up or helping participate in it, and we got a list of names. And from there, it just mushroomed into what it became. But I had in my mind that Seattle deserves to have a Pride Week. So that was the impetus for me. Now, there were lots of other things, a lot of other people active at that time, and a lot of stuff had gone on beforehand. So I'm just one of the cogs in the wheel, but everybody pushing at the same time.
How many cogs do you think were in that wheel?
100 active people doing things for the community. Yeah.
Pride events continued in Seattle throughout the mid 1970s, and more LGBTQ plus folks fought for their right to exist outside the closet and explore what it meant to be free. One person who acknowledged that community members had responded to discrimination by, quote, asserting their humanity and their right to equality, end quote, was Seattle Mayor Wes Ullman, who proclaimed the city's first official Gay Pride Week in 1977. That same year, LGBTQ plus folks were experiencing more political power. In Smith Tower, located in Pioneer Square, a group called the Seattle Municipal Elections Committee put a focus on getting LGBTQ plus folks to vote. Their efforts paid off when the group registered 1,700 new LGBTQ plus voters. Political power proved important the following year because in 1978, LGBTQ plus people faced another pernicious threat, Initiative 13, a political effort to strip local LGBTQ plus folks of housing and employment protections. Now, you can learn a lot about people by how they respond to a threat. And across the city, people came together to form allyships to ensure LGBTQ plus rights would be protected. One person who helped to fight the initiative was Rob Robley, who worked and visited establishments in Pioneer Square. Here's what Rob remembers about that time and the fight.
We had Initiative 13. Two Seattle policemen drafted an initiative after Anita Bryant's pattern, anyway, or whatever you call it, what she did in Florida. It's called Initiative 13. And they got signatures to put it on the ballot. And they went into the city clerk, Wayne Angevine, to have it certified. And Wayne Angevine was a gay man. And Wayne Angevine at that time was also running for Seattle City Council. I think he was running in a primary against Norm Rice at that time anyway. Well, I had met Wayne, and he had been a state senator, youngest state senator in our Washington State Senate. And Norm Rice won anyway, but Angevine had to take these signatures from these policemen anyway. David Falk or David Estes and I think David Falk were their names, the two Seattle policemen who came up with the Seattle Initiative. And so then there was a big campaign against it, and I tried to go out and help to raise some funds in different ways and sometimes from some closeted people to contribute anyway against that, fighting that initiative. And it was one of the wonderful days. I was in Hawaii that night when I called back to Seattle to find out what happened, what the vote was, and Initiative 13 had been defeated by like 65%.
If you want to learn more about Pride and how it started in Seattle, If you want to know what it was like to dance in Occidental Park, then take a self-guided tour and learn more by visiting historylink.tours. And on behalf of HistoryLink, I would love to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for joining us for this series. Please let us know what you think, and I look forward to making more history with you in the future.
Really in-your-face moment for me after that first 50 of us or 40 of us at the Seattle Center was the year that the Space Needle, that I was down there, and they had the gay pride flag, the huge pride flag on the Space Needle. And that was a teary moment for me to look up and see that, think that 40 years ago or 42 years ago, where we were and where we are, where things are today. So that was very heartening. Yeah. So.